I feel like celebrating today because not only are we building a powerful community here, but we've just crossed 2,500 subscribers and I'm closing in on my 100th video. That's incredible. And it's all thanks to you. So to celebrate, I'm doing something a little different. I'm answering your questions. These are questions that you have left in the comments that I thought were really good to reemphasize and maybe go a little deeper on. And also, they are ones that I get asked all the time about fitness in general, about health and staying strong in our 50s. So I love hearing what's on your mind. It keeps this channel fresh, real, and personal. So let's jump right into your questions. So I'm going to read the question here on my screen. I've been sedentary and just turned 50. What's the safest way to restart without getting injured? Well, first of all, there's no perfect time to get started except right now, if you have not started yet. You're right on time. The safest way to restart is to start simple and stay consistent. Think of movement as something you reintroduce into your life, not attack. Start with mobility, body weight movements, squats to a chair, gentle core work, and resistance bands. 2 strength days a week is plenty at first, plus walking on most days. So that's a great way to start. So whether you're 50, 60, or 70, or beyond, focus on movement quality over movement quantity. And if you're wondering when it hit me that I had to start prioritizing my health because I had completely taken it for granted my entire youth and early adulthood into middle age, my wake-up call came at age 46 after a serious health crisis that really shocked my world. And that was the pivot that led me to strength training and ultimately to helping others do the same. The third question from our community, is that random knee or shoulder pain just aging? Like there's no avoiding it. Wow. That's a very common question I get from people over 50 because you've lived life long enough to maybe have suffered a few setbacks, a few injuries through just the ins and outs of your life. And whether or not you have addressed them directly by getting it assessed and going to physical therapy or having that surgery or getting some kind of diagnosis so that you know how to move forward, that's very individual to where you are. But what I can say is it's not just age. Like, because you're old, you're getting worn out. It's more like you've just had more time on the planet for things to happen to you. And here's what I can tell you as a kind of a solution or a mindset. Pain is feedback. That's all. It's not a punishment. Sometimes it's just your body asking for a form check or more mobility work. When I start my week at the gym on Monday morning, I am stiff and sore because I tend to be a little more sedentary on Sunday. So I can't just jump into the squat rack. I do a series of stretches that really helps to loosen up my lower back and my hips, make sure my joints are all warm and fully stretched. And then I just start and it makes a big difference. But if I started with a stiff lower back, I bet I could hurt myself doing that. So more mobility, more stretching, pain is feedback, and know the difference between the sharp pain of injury and the dull pain of effort or stiffness because it needs more warmth. There is a difference. So you really have to listen to your body on this one. Now, if you've had surgeries like I have, knees, shoulders, hips, you can still train hard, but respect the range of motion that joint is in right now. Swap heavy barbells for machines, dumbbells for resistance bands that give you more control. Sometimes it's helpful with a machine because the stability is built in while you're building your strength back, and then do some mobility where the range is more open before you go back to heavy free weights. The next question from our community is, how much can I lift now compared to my younger self? That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Think of it this way. You may not lift as heavy, but you'll lift smarter. The goal after 50 is strength for life, not what's going on in the gym today. But I can tell you this. I found out for myself and also read it in the literature. So I found out that this is real. And that is that if you have lifted heavier in the past, like maybe in high school or in a sports team or maybe in the military, or you went through a phase of fitness in your younger years and then you put it away because life got in the way or whatever and you stopped your habit. If you go back to that now, because you already have the muscle memory still stored away, your brain didn't forget it, you will be able to have more in your current capacity to build. So you start at a better, stronger level sooner than someone who has never lifted. And if you have never lifted, you have the same ability to grow. It just takes patience. If you are patient and don't get in a rush, you can make great gains. And I'm seeing how much my body has responded in the last, month and a half. I'm about halfway through my 90-day cycle. And already I am noticing a huge difference. Just like camping last weekend, and I could pick up the whole ice chest loaded myself, where 5 or 6 months ago, I would have needed help. But I've just been working, and not for the purpose of being able to lift an ice chest, but as a life thing, as just something fun going camping, I'm able to participate with more vigor and more strength, and I enjoy it more. That's what I mean by training for strength for life, not just what you can chest press in the gym. My mini takeaway for this is strength training after 50 is the closest thing we have to the fountain of youth. And not like you want to be 30 again, but you want to reclaim the vigor that you once had at an older age, where you get to have all this perspective and wisdom at the same time. Question number 4, and this is probably the question I get the most, especially from my ladies. Why does fat loss feel so much harder after 50? I feel you. It happened to me too. I mean, I went through menopause in the middle of training for my second or third bodybuilding show. And I was already lean, but I started to notice the difference in how my body was responding to nutrition. Exercise kind of just kept marching along. My nutrition was cued for being lean and strong, so protein and reasonable carbs and fats. But when I would have a cheat meal, like a refeed, we call them a refeed meal nowadays because it's a little more politically correct. We're not cheating. We're mindfully and strategically giving ourselves a burst of calories to keep that fire of metabolism burning hot. But I would find that if I had too many little dessert things, or pizza was often a difficult one because it's so high in sodium, like more than just putting a little salt on your salad, that I really was bloated and just thought, what in the world? It wasn't like this the last time I did this. And it felt a little bit like my body was rebelling. But I dove in and really started to read up and listen to experts about this. And I have a little more wisdom about it now. At or around midlife, a little different age for different people, depends on your genetics and your lifestyle practices. But estrogen and testosterone will start to decline, and growth hormone naturally dips. So muscle building and recovery do slow down a little bit. That's why That's why it takes longer to build muscle and longer to recover. When I say that in my other videos, there is a chemical underpinning to that. But I didn't say you couldn't do it. You just have to take more time with it. The answer to this question, though, is not extreme dieting or endless cardio. Maybe those are things we resorted to in our younger years when we didn't know really the answers, but resistance training, adequate protein, and patience is a winning combination. I promise you. These are your metabolic allies. And a little bit of a deep dive here for you, those of you who kind of want more answers than just some, punch list of things you should do. Here's what I've learned from talking with metabolic experts that really clarified why belly fat behaves differently. So that stubborn midsection of fat that is mostly visceral fat, we call it. It's not the same as subcutaneous fat or intramuscular fat that we also carry. Did you know there were 3 kinds of fat? So subcutaneous fat is the soft, pinchable layer just under the skin. It cushions and insulates us in small amounts, and it's perfectly healthy. It's the fat that we joke about. Oh, I still have baby fat. It's also the fat, ladies, that makes your face and your skin soft and smooth. It's like a kind of a little cushiony pillow, not a big one, but it's just underneath and makes the skin nice and smooth. And as we get older and we lose some of that subcutaneous fat, maybe through over dieting, as we get older and a little bit of sun damage, we get that crepey skin that, man, past menopause, that is a big complaint. But it's partly a loss of elasticity in the skin and also the loss of subcutaneous fat. Okay, and the next category is intramuscular fat, and it is found within and between your muscle fibers. So it's kind of woven in. I think of it like the marbling in a Wagyu steak or a well-marbled steak where it has those little veins of white fat in them. And then some cuts have none or almost no fat. That is intramuscular fat. And it is a little bit of that is normal and even protective, but too much reduces muscle quality and strength. Now, the third kind of fat is not doing you any favors, visceral fat. So it's not under the skin like subcutaneous. It's not intramuscular like the intramuscular fat. It's called visceral fat. And visceral fat is just this kind of brownish sludge, fatty tissue that collects in your gut. And it coats your heart, your liver, your kidneys, and your intestines. And it acts as an endocrine disruptor. It messes with your immunities, makes you more susceptible to illness. And it is more metabolically reactive. So this is the type of fat you hear all the time in reports that it leads to a higher risk of heart disease, diabetes, and cognitive decline. So it is not helpful the way the other types of fats are. And it is pretty easy to diagnose on yourself. A visible clue that visceral fat is accumulating in excess and it's way too much is when the waistline expands its circumference beyond the circumference of the hips. From the back, someone could look kind of a normal weight, but when they turn to the side or to the front, they look semi-pregnant. That belly, that is all visceral fat. And that is the stuff that's out to kill you. So that's what we want to get rid of. And the question, why does this happen and why is it so difficult to get rid of with our modern American diet, even when I have salad for lunch and even when I drink 8 glasses of water, etc. There's some very specific reasons for why this collects right there and I can explain it to you. So here's what's really happening as we age, and it sort of speeds up over time. Our glucose management becomes less efficient. So what I mean by that, glucose management, the hormone that handles glucose for you is insulin. Insulin comes into the bloodstream whenever you eat something that has glucose in it. So it could be a candy bar. It also could be an apple. It could be maybe some spaghetti squash, or it could be McDonald's French fries. They're all carbohydrates, but some of those carbohydrates are more concentrated and refined than others. So when you eat something that's very refined, it hits you harder and insulin comes rushing in. And just like an overprotective parent, it kind of overdoes it. It overproduces insulin. So there's enough insulin to take care of the sugar. And that's why you can go and have a blood test and it shows that you don't have diabetes because your blood level is fine for now. But when the body is constantly producing too much insulin, the organ, the pancreas that produces that insulin gets overtired and just kind of goes, I give up. And that's when there's a tipping point where the insulin doesn't work anymore because it's overproduced for so long, it becomes dull. And then it shows up in your blood tests as pre-diabetes or diabetes. So the precursor to diabetes is the big gut. It's the visceral fat, even though the blood test doesn't show it. That's why this is so important. So even if your blood test is normal, you're getting insulin resistance. Insulin says, I know what to do with this extra. We can store it as fat around your intestines. Oh, there's a lot there. Let's put some around your heart. And we'll use it later, maybe not. And so you end up carrying all this extra storage because insulin is doing its job too well. And then we have a problem. So if your goal is a smaller waistline, a healthier metabolism, avoiding disease, avoiding dementia, strategy that you need is not deprivation. It's stabilizing the insulin through smart training, balanced meals, and consistent habits. And mostly what I've done in my own life that I'm doing for this 90-day stretch, to apply this to what's happening right now for me, is I was starting to get a little belly. And it was because of 3 things. Things with flour in them. So baked goods are very refined. I'm not saying they're the devil, but there's one of those things where when you eat a little, you want more. So I decided for 90 days, no flour, nothing with flour, no breads, no tortillas, no chips, cookies, crackers, baked goods, muffins, bagels, anything, no flour. And the other one was no refined sugar. So I sweeten my coffee with stevia. I will have a little touch of honey, which is fine, especially right before a workout, because I'm going to use it in my muscles. It won't store. And then root vegetables and squashes. Those have lots of complex carbohydrates so that I have brain power and I have plenty of slow burning sugar to help me in my day. But no more simple sugar. And the third one, which is the hardest, no alcohol for 90 days. And I've stuck with it. I'm on week 7 now, and I don't miss it. Did you know what's great? My stomach is the first thing that went down. Everybody was like, what are you doing? You look great. Your stomach is flat. Because I had a little roll. If you look back in the exercise videos that I did a month ago, you can see it. And I called it out. That's why I'm doing this. Because I need to get that off first before I even start to lean out for a competition. So the mini takeaway, your hormones may shift, but your body still responds beautifully to consistency, strength, protein, and blood sugar balance are the true keys to reshaping your metabolism after 50 and to getting that flat stomach back. So it may take some discipline, and you don't have to go cold turkey like I did for 90 days. But you know what? It's the fastest way to get there that is still healthy and not into deprivation. So I'm ready for it. Okay, the next question from our community is, I'm bored. Should I quit weightlifting and switch to another sport? Okay, that's a big one. I think weightlifting can be boring, which, although I can't imagine it because I love it. Cardio for me is what's boring. So if you're bored, change the challenge, not the commitment. Try circuit training or hiking or swimming or pickleball or dance classes. The key is to stay engaged and moving and figure out for yourself, because we're all different, whether you thrive doing something individual on your own or you need a group or a coach or a community that you can practice this in, because that might just be the key that will keep you engaged. So find out your style. You're an introvert, you're an extrovert, figure it out. Another question, this one is dear to my heart, is running after 50 too hard on the joints? Wow. Not for everyone, but if it hurts, you do need to pivot. In interval walking, the incline treadmill is good because you can control the speed and the difficulty. Cycling can deliver similar benefits without pounding your knees. What I've observed is there are some people who are genetically engineered to be able to run their whole life, and they will proselytize to everyone that you're just being wimpy if you don't do it. I'm telling you, those same people would not understand maybe how I believe that weightlifting and strength training can do that for you, because running is such a big deal to them. So I guess the bottom line of that is someone who is genetically programmed, they have really good, strong joints, and they don't seem to suffer any pain and can run into their 80s. Great. But if you're not that, then you can't listen to their directives that tell you you should be able to do it. I'm doing it, so you can do it. That's the worst advice. You need to find what works for you. And there are things that those 80-year-old runners wouldn't be caught doing that are also good for them. So just watch out for that. You'll find on my channel, I talk all the time about resistance training, but I'm respectful of whether you like to train by yourself or in a group or with a coach or not. It really comes down to your own personal style. Back to the joints. If it hurts, you do have to pivot and listen to your body. Maybe be assessed by a physical therapist. Sometimes that helps, because perhaps your running form needs to be corrected. And by fixing that, you can keep running. So look into it for sure, but also respect whenever you have a repetitive pain. And the last question, besides resistance training, what are other activities that help people stay mobile? Right off the top of my head, I think about the article I read where dog owners tend to be healthier longer, but it's because they have to walk their dog every day and they can't not do it because the dog needs to get out. But more seriously, balance and strength are everything. So think beyond resistance training, walking, mobility work, hiking, Tai Chi, yoga, Pilates. I think if you love to travel, that is one of the most interesting ways to stay active, because not only is it true that when we leave our own homes and go somewhere that is unfamiliar, almost 100% of the time end up moving more. I'm so tired at the end of the day because of all the walking and climbing stairs and standing in line and just all this stuff that you have to do when you travel. But also, when you're doing it, you're not thinking, I'm exercising. You're thinking, I get to see the Taj Mahal or the Rome Colosseum, or you're not thinking about the exertion. You're thinking about the thing you're looking at. And so part of it is just the zest for the activity. So what is it that you like to do? Almost all of my fitness clients, almost all of them, play pickleball. It is just the rage. And I would say be careful, because I had one client who was very competitive and dove for a shot and ended up separating his shoulder. So don't do that. And even playing doubles is great because you don't have to leap quite so far, so you won't tear a rotator cuff or hurt your knee. But a group sport like that, or maybe I have one lady who really, really relies on yoga and has built such a strong core from it. And when she first was telling me that, I'm thinking, yeah, but you're resistance training with me. Why do you? And then over time, I could see, oh no, this is not a competition. This is just outsourcing some of the variety that you really need to build into your day. So variety and interest will help you stay mobile. But don't discount owning a dog that needs to walk every day. If any of these questions and answers I've given have made you go, yeah, but what about that? But what about this detail? Janet, you left out this. Okay, so drop it in the comments and let me know which ones you would like me to expand a little more on, maybe in a different area or something more specific, because some of these answers might be a little too general. Yeah, Janet, would you talk about this? I read every comment, and your ideas often inspire future videos. So don't be shy. And dear friends, thank you for being here, for your curiosity, your kindness, your commitment to aging strong. This community is now more than 2,500 strong. And I am so pleased with how this has been developing as a real forum for talking about what's important to us. So until next time, stay strong, stay curious, and I will see you next time.